Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast channel. We're on this channel today because we're just going to be doing a quick update, going over a few headlines, reviewing some of the information that we learned in the police conference. Now this again is related to the Delphi case, Abby and Libby. There's been major breakthroughs, major arrests recently, and so a lot of people asked me what I thought about the press conference and that kind of thing, so that's what we're going to be doing. Now how we're going to do this is this. We're going to watch a few clips from it. There's not very many. If you follow me on my other channel, you know that I'll do deep dives and review like an hour worth of clips from a case, whatever. This is just a very few. And in fact, the first one that we're going to review is just a montage of things, and I'll discuss that. And then there's like 3 or 4 more clips that we'll talk about. After that, we'll talk about Richard Allen, who's been arrested, just a couple of things for that. And then I want to look at an article that I found with the family that they had to say speaking out, because it's very eerie to me, literally how this man was right there in the community dealing with all these people. Potentially, allegedly, because again, at this point, he is, like they say in the press conference, a presumed innocent, you know, knowing what took place this whole time while interacting with the family members and whatnot. So, that being said, let's go ahead and jump on in.
I'd like to remind everyone that this continues to be an active and ongoing investigation.
Give me just a second here. Today is not a day to celebrate. But the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. I am proud to report to you that today, actually last Friday, was the day. We are going to continue a very methodical and committed approach to ensure that if any other person had any involvement in these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable. This investigation is far from complete, and we will not jeopardize its integrity by releasing or discussing documents or information before the appropriate time.
I believe in a God of justice and righteousness. Today, I believe that same God has provided us with justice for Abby and Libby.
Okay, so overall, and again, this is going off of the whole thing of, you know, presumed innocent, all that type of stuff. To me, it is very clear that they are very confident that they have their man or one of them. Because another thing that I thought was very interesting in this is, first of all, how they're, and we'll hear other clips from the prosecutor, people like that, and this is prevalent throughout the entire conference, that they are very open to continuing to investigate this. They do not consider it case closed. They want more information if other people are involved, that type thing. So I'm very curious to see if we learn more information in regards to, are there others involved, basically? You know, was it just him? Because one thing that has always made me question things and whatnot about how many people were involved, and again, we don't have all this information, right? But how did he control these girls? You know, now obviously I'm thinking maybe he had a gun, something like that, but once whatever he did happened, you know, how that had to have been tricky. So that being said, it'll be interesting to see if there is any ties to this guy Klein, anything of that nature. Now, another thing when I was watching this, and I don't know if y'all can tell or not, but when that officer, the second officer got up there, to me, I thought he was like getting choked up. Now, Matt was watching it with me, and he was like, oh, he sounds like he has a cold, and I'm like, I think he's crying. Like, I think this is very emotional for him. Either way, that's how I interpreted it. So when I watched this early in the morning, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting here just weeping, okay? Because the first time I watched it when this was live, I was so obviously like a lot of adrenaline, that kind of thing. So when I watched it this morning again to pick out the clips I wanted to talk about, it just felt more of like a, whoa, like this is, you know, not that it didn't feel heavy the first time, but I digested it more, if that makes sense. I mean, it gives me goosebumps right now. So that to me was just very intriguing. The guy who we listened to last week was like, I believe in a God of justice. That right there, in accompaniment with all the other stuff, I'm just like, they've got some, like, to me, it sounds like airtight evidence against this guy. And I'm very curious to see if other information comes out. Now, I did read somewhere where it said he is not cooperating, which I guess that would just simply mean he's not talking to them, like he lawyered up right away or whatever. So that being said, let's watch a few clips from when the prosecutor got up, and I'm just going to speak directly after each of these and just add a couple of thoughts about them.
At that time, we had gathered evidence to formulate a PC that we submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German.
Now again, just hearing that, it just sends goosebumps all over me, of joy, of sadness, of shock, of anger, of everything, right? Now again, I go back to this too, where it's like, I just feel like they didn't do this lightheartedly, right? I don't think they looked at it like, well, we can tie this together with a shoestring, let's arrest him. I feel like they really have some solid evidence against this man.
This investigation is still very ongoing. We're keeping the tip line open, the tip email open. We encourage everybody to continue to call in tips, not only about Richard Allen, but about any other person that you may have. For that reason, and for the nature of this case, the probable cause and the charging information has been sealed by the court.
Now again, I know it's frustrating to the public and whatnot because they went into these details. It's cases like this, I'm all for being like, seal what you need to do, get the airtight evidence, make this stick. Now again, hearing him reiterate, you know, this is far from over, we want more information, whether it's on Richard or anyone else. I just feel like we're going to find out that there are other people tied to the situation. Now again, I don't have any kind of information to back that up. That is me speculating, that is not fact, right? That's just me going off of my little sofa opinion there. So let's keep hearing what he has to say.
I've been very clear to everybody that per the court order, we cannot talk about the evidence that's in the probable cause or the evidence that's in the charging information. That will become evident to you at some point and it'll be released, but right now is not that day.
Now, I do think when they release this information, and I'll compare it to something like this, if you followed the Gannon Stout case, and when they released that information, and literally people were gasping, and it was absolutely horrifying, I have a feeling this is going to be the equivalent. I have a feeling that there is like in any of these cases, there's going to be very specific stuff in here that they're going to keep airtight just simply because probably only this alleged defendant will take a little word from the other case we've been following from Daryl, but only they would know, right? The people who did this to Abby and Libby, right? People who are involved with it. And I have a feeling that it is going to send shockwaves across this nation when we find out the exact details and facts of what took place to these innocent young girls.
Today's about Abby and Libby, focusing on them. Mr. Allen has had his initial hearing. He's entered a preliminary plea of not guilty. The matter's been set for a pretrial on January 13th at 9 a.m. 2023 and a trial date of March 20th, 2023 at 9 a.m. He is presumed innocent.
So January, we're going to see him back in court. March is the preliminary court case or trial. Now, obviously, we know this is most likely not going to happen in March, right? These are just dates and whatnot to keep things going along. So at least we have a timeline to check back in with that. Now, let's listen to one last clip.
We haven't closed the door on the investigation. And so that's why we keep the tip line and the tip email open. And so we're not presuming anything at this point, but we're going to continue to take tips, continue to take any information anybody has, and as we've done with all the information we've gathered, we're going to look at that and examine that and see where it leads us.
So again, finishing out with this, I do think that it's going to be interesting to see if other people get charged in this and what more information comes out. Now, what I want to do now is just take a minute, look at one of his the booking photo, look at the other, police sketches, this kind of a thing, and just talk about that for a second. Now, one thing that kind of haunts me with this is, number one, seeing an actual face, right, that we can put with this. And again, just like everyone has just said, this is all alleged at this point. He is presumed innocent. But when I look at his photo and then look at Bridgeman, and it comes to life for me, if that makes sense. It's no longer a grainy photo. We have an image of him. This is something that absolutely haunts my mind, though, that I really want to know or get an answer to. So the clothing that he's wearing in that picture, part of me feels like, did anyone not recognize that? I mean, he was literally so local. Like, to me, that jacket, the hat, that's kind of specific. Almost in the context of, did someone that knows him not be like, wow, Richard has that hat. Wow, Richard, that kind of looks like something Richard wears. I'm not trying to point fingers or blame or anything, but it's just weird to me knowing that he was local. Maybe he got that for that day and then never wore it again. I don't know. But that part is just so absolutely eerie to me. And on that note, you know, let's look at, again, just very quickly, how close he is or was, or, you know what I'm saying, like how close this place is to the bridge. I mean, it's right there. It's like, I think it's like a 5-minute drive. This is right around the corner. This man worked in the community. He dealt with these people. So that's what's even eerier to me. And on that note, let's go ahead and review this article. It's from People Magazine, and they're talking about some statements from the family that I just was like, my God, my heart absolutely breaks over this. So what I'm going to do is just read from these and we'll talk about them or whatever. But here goes the first thing. And so after the press conference, the grandparents of Libby spoke to media about the break in the case. And I'm now going to quote that. "We've got a big mountain ahead of us," Libby's grandfather, Mike Patty, told reporters, "and we're going to stay after it. We've never given up. And you guys have not given up on us. We're going to keep pushing all the way." Mike told reporters he did not personally know Allen, who worked at a CVS in Delphi. But Mike said investigators have expressed their belief all along that the suspect could be a community member. "That's why we said never stop searching anywhere, because we didn't know where he was. And like I said, Doug Carter had made a mention of that, as he could be living anywhere right amongst us, hiding in plain sight. And that's what came," Mike said. Okay, so let's pause here real quick. The fact that, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but like I use CVS personally. So in my mind, I'm just thinking of standing in the line. Like I can just envision this and this guy being there being like, what if I just found out that the dude who fills my prescriptions and does this stuff and interacts with me there possibly is the person who did this to these two girls. The talk, you know, this thing that has been the talk of the town, this is a small tight-knit community. So the fact that he was working at such a public face position in this town is even eerier, but we'll learn more. So let's keep reading this little article here. Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, told reporters that Allen had once processed photos for the family and did not charge them. "That is correct," Becky told reporters. "It's unclear if those photos were processed before or after the killings, and the content of these photos is also unclear." Okay, now here's how I read into this, and again, this is me reading into this. This is not fact. I read into this and envision her going through the whatever it was she was doing, him processing these, knowing what he has allegedly done, and being like, it's free of charge. That guilt simmering through. Now again, we can find out that this happened way before that, and you know, there's that, right? And it could not be anything, but this is just me filling in the blanks that we don't know, right? Of me, like my imagination going either way. For her to have that mental connection to him and been like, I've interacted with the man that did this to my granddaughter, and you know, to the girls. I can't even process that. How painful that must be. Okay, I just have one more to go over. Becky told reporters her reaction to the news of the arrest was different from what she expected. "I don't feel like I thought I would," Becky said. "I've always said that I would be screaming on the rooftop. We're not. It's sad. While there's somebody that's been arrested, our lives for 5.5 years have been in search mode. And that's what we've done. We're not doing that anymore. So we're all just kind of feeling our way and figuring out what our purpose is now. What do we do next? How do we help?" I mean, my God, my heart goes out to them. I can only imagine. No, I can't. I can't even say that. I can't imagine what it would be like. I have no context, right, of what that would feel like. And that's why my heart breaks for them. But such brave people to be able to continue in the face of all this and keep moving forward and keep doing this. And they got, you know, not an answer yet, obviously, but they're on that pathway to getting more answers and obviously justice, right? And again, I can see how, I can appreciate what she's saying in the way of, we've been in search mode, and now it's like, okay, that's done, you know. For the most part, we have somebody, we're on the right track. Now we need to rearrange things. And so it's like, okay, let's where do we go from here? And I think from here is going to be the pathway of justice, right? That whole legal system that's going to be coming up now in court cases and finding out more truths along the way. And if anybody else was involved, if anybody else knew about this and never came forward, because like some of these cases, that is the case, right? Where somebody knows, someone had a hunch, someone remained quiet. And I'll be curious to see if we end up hearing from those people or not. So yeah, so that's it. I just wanted to sit here and give my thoughts on this. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section. Again, thank you everybody for being here. Love, light, and happiness to the girls, the family, the community. I'm so glad that at least answers and justice are soon approaching for all of them. I will see you next time here at the old sofa and the old podcast.